Hello everyone and welcome to week 2 of module 3. This first tutorial we will open up our MySQL workbench, which you should already have running. You're going to choose a connection. You'll probably just have one here. Click on it. If you didn't already pre-configure it, it might ask you to insert your password at that time. So first, before starting this tutorial, you'll have already wanted to fork and clone the repo linked in the open class lesson, and that is going to give you all of your starter code. So once you're here in MySQL Workbench, you can just go to File, Open SQL Script, and then you're just going to find it wherever you have it. So once you find where you have saved the repo, you go into Starter Code, and then I'm going to select the Initialize Coffee database and open it. So let's just take a look before we run this at what we have here. This drop database, if it exists, this is just sort of a safety feature that you often see so that you're not trying to make something if it already exists, right? It will cause an error. So if it happens to be there, you drop it, and then once it's definitely not there, you're going to create a database, and then we're going to use that database and everything that comes below. So we have a variety of tables that we are building here in this new fictional coffee shop database. We have a customers table, and you'll notice that we have our primary key is the customer ID. We'll have their first and last names separated, an email, and then their location with the city and state. Similarly, for stores, we'll have a primary key with a store ID, a name of the store, city, and a state, an employees table. And you'll notice with the employees table, not only do they have a primary key of their ID, but they also have a foreign key of the store ID, right? Because they're working at a particular store, the store ID needs to exist. They have the first and last name, a title, and then also a hire date. And then I'll kind of breeze through. I won't read through all of them. You'll be able to read it in your own. But we have categories, products, orders, order items, and inventory. And so all of this is going to build our database. So if we want, we could just run everything, or we can execute just under the keyboard cursor. I'm going to, since I highlighted everything, you'll read how here below it says execute the selected portion of the script or everything if there's no selection. We made the selection. So had we not made the selection, it would run this entire file. We made the selection so you can just see step by step what's happening. So I'm going to execute that, and we should have a new database. Sometimes it takes a moment. You can refresh over here, and there it is. So over here, you'll see that it popped up under schemas. And now you can see all of these tables that we created and information about each of them. But they're empty. We have not put any information in them. So the second part of this initialized coffee database SQL file is the seed data, this data that we're putting in. It's simply using these insert statements just with fake data. And again, just, as a disclaimer, I did use ChatGPT to generate this for me. I did not make all of this up. I think it's funny that it generated things for Hawaii, even though I didn't ask it to. I guess it's getting to know me. But similarly to before, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this and run right here, run the selected portion. And we've got no error codes. We can lift this up a little bit as well to see the bottom part. This may have already been displayed in yours. I had it put down, but you'll see that if something doesn't work, right, it'll have a red X and it won't show as a success, right? So we've seen at this last one, these insert statements, how many rows are affected. So this is successful. On your own computer, it is totally fine if you open this file and you choose to just run all of it at once. That's perfectly fine. I just wanted to show you that after just the creation of the table, that the tables do pop up. We can write queries with this now. I'm going to open this query one that was here. So we're going to use our coffee shop database. And let's just take a look just to make sure everything is working. Select star from, let's call it employees. And I do want to remind you that SQL is actually case insensitive. You'll see a lot of people use the capitalization, and I do if I'm making assignments or writing things, but to be honest, in practice, I don't usually bother, especially if I'm just playing around. It's totally up to you. If you like to use the capital, that's fine. If you don't like to, you don't have to, because this will work just as well as if I put these keywords in caps. You do have to remember to put a semicolon after everything that we want. And we won't highlight anything, we'll just press this. Okay, so first it ran this query and then it ran this query. So this first one, of course, we always need to tell my SQL or MySQL Workbench like what database we want to use, because you'll have multiple databases here one day. We're using the coffee shop one, and then it ran the select star from employees, which, as you'll recall, just means give us everything. All the columns, all the rows, print everything from that table. And here we have it. On the employees table, you'll notice we have these employee IDs. We have their first name, last name, title, hire date, store ID, employer ID. So we can see that this works. We can open up another one as well if we're just curious. Maybe we want to look at, let's see, what other things do we have here? Maybe stores. I'm going to see what we have here. Made up some names. Uhoe Cafe, Kavala Cafe, and Hanale Cafe. Those don't exist, but those are all cities here. And you'll see again where it displays this row of nulls. So we didn't insert that, but it does show up here when you're selecting. So I'd like you now, you can open inside MySQL Workbench, go to Open SQL Script, go to your repo once again, and go into Assignment Files, and into Start Now with the SQL Basics. Right, you'll see you have 3 files here. So the SQL Basics is what you should be prepared to do now. Next, after learning more about filtering and aggregation, you'll do that next file, opening it the same way that we're about to. And then with SQL joins, similarly, you'll fill it out here, right? So I will open this. It already has the use copy shop database at the top, so you don't need to worry about that. What you want to do is go through each prompt and then write a query that answers that prompt. And again, remember that this button here only runs the statement under your cursor. So when you're testing this out, you can just keep it hovered over your query to run it, to test it, to make sure that it works. Let's just take a look at this first one together. So we're going to list all the products. So we want to see the product name and the price, sorted by the price, descending. Remember, you have this little schema over here. So you can be reminded of this products table. You can look at the columns, right? So we have name and price. So we'll have select, name, price, from, products, right? So first just start with that. Like, this is a pretty small data set. It's okay to play around in that way. So we just select name and price from products. It just gives us everything that's here. But it says sorted by price descending. So maybe then we want to say order by price descending. Run it again. And now we'll see it starts with the most expensive thing and moves on down to the least expensive item that is saved in the products table. Okay, I'm going to leave the rest for you. These are some good exercises. They do get harder as you go into the next assignments. Make sure that whenever you're completing these, you are saving. You're saving the files and then ultimately pushing them through or pushing them back up to GitHub so that you can submit your repo link at the very end of this week to be graded as your deliverable for these assignments. If you're working on it here in MySQL Workbench, just know that you'll have to use Git Bash to add, commit, and push to GitHub. If that feels uncomfortable and you feel more comfortable in VS Code, you can also just open these same files when you're done in VS Code and do it through that terminal, but it should feel pretty much the same to you either way. And just make sure that you go to GitHub and verify that all of your answers are written in here before you submit your assignment. And that's that. Have fun playing around in MySQL Workbench. And please remember to bring your questions and concerns to class, things you want to work through in class, or reach out on Slack if you need help with anything. Have fun.